Hi there, this is Kinnack. I've been thinking for a while about how much I love Let's Plays and reviews and things of that sort, but how there really just aren't enough of them for iOS devices. I mean, there's such a range of games available on the App Store, from the free-to-play to the frankly fairly expensive, and everything in between, but at the same time, very few real looks at them as reviews. Technically, it can be a little more challenging to get the video from them, but I don't think it's really all that bad in the grand scheme of things. So I'd like to show off some games that I like, and then maybe move on later to try out some free-to-play games, see if we can sort of sort the wheat from the chaff, and talk a little bit about, what makes a awesome free-to-play game, an awesome paid game, and which games just, don't get there. So today, we are going to be diving into one of my personal favorites. It's Elder Sign Omens. It is a iOS version of a board game by Fantasy Flight Games. You can see that logo down in the lower right. Good folks design really strongly themed board games. The theme of this one is Lovecraftian horror. You may be familiar with Arkham Horror. It's another game by the same company. Elder Sign is substantially simpler and more straightforward. I think that Arkham Horror would probably play out quite a bit better on a computer than in person, because it is a rather complex game with a lot of moving parts, a lot of fidgety stuff. But even Elder Sign, which is quite a bit simpler, I actually like a lot more on iOS than I do in person. This is a paid app. It's $3.99 on the App Store, and there are you get sort of 4 chapters to start. I shouldn't even say chapters, 4 game modes, which I'll show you in a second, and then you can buy more for actual payments later. So it's a little bit paid up front, a little bit free to play, sort of pay as you go type system. So it's basically you get the base game and then you can buy expansion packs for it, or DLC, however you want to think about that. It ends up working very similarly to the board game of the same name, just quite a bit cheaper, and you don't have to screw around with all the parts. So let's jump in here. I am not going to resume my game in progress, and we are going to pick an ancient one. These are the different game modes that I was talking about. We've got Yig. Yig is the easiest. Each of these is a Elder God or Great Old One from the Cthulhu mythos by H.P. Lovecraft. Yig in particular comes from some stories that he worked on with a woman by the name of Zelia Bishop. So I believe that Zelia Bishop actually came up with Yig, but he sort of gets folded into the Cthulhu mythos because Lovecraft worked on the stories too, and frankly, very few people remember who Zelia Bishop was, and so he sort of gets the credit by default, which is a bit of a shame, but Yig is pretty cool. One of my favorite mythos deities, however you want to say that, but in this particular game, he is sort of easy mode, so we're going to start off on him. You can see, obviously, the difficulties listed there, and a little bit of flavor text, but just really explaining the basic game. The symbol in the center with the 10 are the number of elder signs you need to seal him away. That is your win condition. And then in the upper right, you can see sort of like robed tentacle dudes and weird little monsters, elder things, if you're a big mythos person. And though that is the Doom track, that is what he is trying to fill up to, escape and unleash doom upon the world. So, normally, in the game, you would play with up to 4 people. It does scale very well that way. When you're playing on iOS, you can very much do a multiplayer, like play and pass type situation, or you can just play by yourself, and just have your team of adventurers. I like to do random. So here is our team here. We've got us a stage magician, Dexter Drake. You can see he has, in the upper left, sort of his sanity and health. He has 5 of each in this case. If either of those goes down to 0, he's out of the game. Which doesn't necessarily mean that you lose. Like, you can stay in until either everyone's, dead or insane, or the doom track's filled up and you're, doomed, as it were. And each character does have some starting items. You see he has the dagger there and 2 books. The daggers are unique items, which are sort of basically magic items. The books are spells. We'll get into those, obviously, more in the gameplay itself. And they each have an actual special ability. So whenever Dexter gets spells, he gets an extra spell. So he'll want to be going after missions that reward spells. And basically, that'll just influence how we want to use him. Second, we have Joe Diamond, who is an investigator. Again, you can see he has a little less sanity than Dexter, but a little more health. He's, not necessarily as stalwart, but he can take a punch. And after using a clue token, which is that sort of footprint icon you can see in his starting items, he can conjure glyphs a second time for free. Clues let you re-roll, basically. And so he gets to re-roll, and then if he doesn't like the results, re-roll again. It's pretty cool. Again, you'll see that in play once we jump in. Carolyn Fern, sort of the opposite, a little more sane, a little less sturdy, and she is a psychologist. She can actually heal the investigator's sanity, which is super handy. Obviously, you want to keep people in the game if you can. And we've got Monterey Jack, pun I'm sure intended. Whenever he gains unique items, he receives an extra unique item, so he's the sort of Indiana Jones of the team. I suppose I should say that this is set in very much like the sort of 1920s. You can see the sort of flapper up here. They're all sort of, very, very 1920s garb. That's when Lovecraft's stories were set, so that's when most of the sort of Arkham Horror Elder Sign games end up being. So, let's jump in with our random team here. It's asking us if we want to proceed, and there will be a cutscene here, which I will let play through, at least this time.
Something terrible has begun to awaken within our museum. A something unsatisfied by mere exhibition or human study, writhing with ancient evil and terrible purpose. An entity that must, at all cost, be prevented access to our world. It's likely I will be branded as one unhinged for what I am about to do. From my studies, I am convinced such dangers are not new to the human experience. The very fact that humanity survives to this day, I attribute to our forebears' success in resisting the tormented realities beyond our own. Regrettably, such is not easy study. Among the rarities I have been fortunate enough to uncover, one particular emblem seems significant. A symbol of purported resistive faculty and considerable power. They called it the Elder Sign.
Alright, got your sort of title drop there at the end. So yeah, we are, the 4 of us are in a museum trying to figure out, what the Father of Serpents is up to and seal him away. And as it says, we have to collect 10 Elder Signs before the Doom track is filled, or, the world's doomed. No pressure. Alright, so this is the actual game interface here. There, you can see our active character is in the lower left. that is Dexter Drake. They're just in the turn order is the same as the order they were displayed in the beginning, and you can see sort of the items that we were talking about. So alien statue adds an extra die. They call them glyphs, for flavor and whatnot, but it's just a special red die, both in the physical game and it works identically in here. You just don't have to, roll the dice yourself. And he has 2 spells, which are actually pretty slick. So, if you look around, you'll see that it's selected the entrance right now. You can do a bunch of things at the entrance. I am really bad at remembering to use the entrance, but you can heal up. You can basically lose your turn to either get a sweet thing or lose health or sanity, so sort of take a spin, as it were, quite literally in this case, or spend trophies to purchase items. Trophies are accumulated by defeating, missions, beating up monsters, that sort of thing. So you can see at the bottom there, for 10 of them, you can buy an Elder Sign, which will get you a 10th of the way to winning. That is not the most common way that you'll get Elder Signs, but it's definitely something to remember if the game is pretty close at the end. You can also spend those trophies in the healing, so you can either just spend your turn chilling out for free and get 1 back, or you can spend some of your trophies to get more back. And the trophies are specific to each individual character. So if you have one character that's just been, a rock star, they'll have a ton of trophies. They can go and, buy some Elder Signs, whatever. But unfortunately, if you have one character that's just been getting their ass handed to them the whole time, they're really low on health, they're really low on sanity, they need to heal somehow, often they won't actually have the trophies they need to get healing. So that can be a bit of a problem. So the question marks are various and sundry locations that we can go explore, sort of the missions that I was talking about. They might be called objectives or something like that. I'm not actually hip to the lingo in that case. So we have the Terrible Discovery, Administration Office, the Archives, Gate to Elsewhere, Becoming Other, and you'll see that it has this sort of sweet tentacly outline, the one in the lower left there, and if we have it selected, it has this tentacly icon for a terror effect. That means basically, even if we win, if things don't go quite according to plan, it'll do bad things to us. Worse than that, though, in my personal opinion, is the hedge maze in the upper right here, which has the little crescent moon there, and similar crescent moon description, and it has a negative effect every midnight, which is every 4 turns, which I think is actually an interesting mechanic, both because it adds a little bit of urgency to the game, but it's not just once around the table, it is literally every 4 turns. So if one of our characters gets knocked off, we won't actually start seeing these more frequently. We'll still have 4 characters going, so everyone will go, and then one more person will go before midnight rolls back around again. So it ends up being a little more balance isn't exactly the right word, but it's not. It doesn't add insult to injury. It's not super punitive with how that comes out, but those are awful. As you can see, this one in particular, -1 stamina teams. Basically, everybody takes 1 damage at the end of the night, which is not good times. And then the individual objectives here, we have one that takes a skull and 2, one that takes 2 skulls. That'll make a lot more sense once we're actually have decided on the mission. The red bar to sort of the left there with the heart in it is what happens if we fail. So they take 1 damage if they fail. And the other side is, sort of the lower right, is what happens if we succeed. There's 4 different icons there. As you play, you'll sort of see which the different icons mean. So the elder thing, sort of tentacly winged dude, means that something's a monster. The dagger means you get a unique item. The gun means you get a common item. And the elder sign means you get an elder sign, so you're 1/10 of the way to winning. There's also that coin with the 2, which means you get 2 trophies, which you can spend, like we were talking about, at the entrance. So we want to take care of that guy before night rolls around again. But Dexter, as we were talking about earlier, gets a bonus spell if he gets a spell out of anything. So I am just glancing over, seeing if we have anything that actually grants spells. We do not. So as you eliminate these, as you take care of them, the museum will repopulate with, just to keep basically the same number of things going on. So I'm actually going to take care of the hedge maze, or try to. So we just tap on it again, and it takes us into the mission itself. You can see the hedge maze in the background, which is pretty nice, and the backpack is sort of glowing in the lower left there, because we have an item we can use. This alien statue used before conjuring to add a red glyph, so we check there. So we have 6 green slots and a red. Those are actually just dice, so we haven't rolled yet. So we hit the tone there to roll. And you can see we have a bunch of different icons here. We have the scroll, the tentacles, and then numbers with little magnifying glasses. If we weren't rolling like bollocks, we would have some skulls in there too. So we got all these skull icons, which would appear on the dice again if we had rolled a little better. But we also have the magnifying glass with the 2 there, so we can fulfill that requirement with one of our dice. It doesn't care that we overpaid. We don't get a refund or anything. But we can't actually complete that objective. We're just sort of SOL. So we have a spell we can use to sort of set some of our dice aside. But I don't think we want to do that. We did not roll so well that we want to save any of our dice. So what you have to do if you can't complete an objective is you toss a die away into this sweet portal. You can see Dexter over on the side there. He can also hold on to a die for us, but we're not going to elect to do that right now. We re-roll, and still doing super awesome on the rolling. So you can see how things sort of spiral downwards here. Roll again. There we go. So we are probably not going to be able to finish this, but you can see, actually, so with the magnifying glass, you can either fulfill it with 2 individual ones or with the 3. So you basically always want to use as few dice as possible, because as these get removed from our pools, we don't get to re-roll them, and we have to do the whole mission with 1 set of dice. So we use that 3 and this skull. Awesome. We have that spell where if we had rolled 2 more skulls, we could reserve them, but we cannot. Flip again. Okay, actually, this is awesome. So the red die that we'd gotten from that idol gave us a wild, which is this little blinking investigator guy down here. So if we tap him, it's like, oh, what do you want? Do you want, 4 investigation? Do you want a scroll, which is sort of knowledge? Skull, which is, beating people's faces, or the tentacles, which is terror. Generally a bad thing, but you will sometimes need it to complete these quests. So we've got 2 skulls now, and we can complete this, I actually totally thought that I'd be showing how we were screwed at the end of this. So, here's all of our rewards. One of these is a little bit backhanded. The first icon there means that a monster has been spawned. But the second means that we've gotten an Elder Sign, so we're 10th of the way to winning. The third there is a unique item. You can tell by the red border. The icon on that means that it banishes a monster. We'll see monsters in a second. The yellow border with the yellow dot on it is a common item, which will give you, you know how we got the red die a second ago? There's also a yellow die. You can get one of each in any given attempt. The yellow dice are basically slightly less good than the red dice, so red dice are best, then yellow dice, and then the green dice for most situations. And then you got 2 trophies. So now we have, with that, we've gone to the second character's turn, and this area in the lower left, the lower right, you become that which you fear most, which is a pretty sweet name. And it has an effect at midnight. Every midnight a monster appears, which is not good times. To complete it, we need to have 3 of those terror wounds, which is also not a great time. But it will give us an Elder Sign. You can also see down in the lower left, this originally had 2 objectives. Now it has a third. This sort of occultist dude in the upper right. So he will stay there until he is defeated. Even if you don't complete the entire mission, if you knock him out, he'll stay gone, which is good and bad. The requirements for knocking him out are a skull, like we saw before. Basically, you just have to kill him. It's not particularly hard to kill, but that second requirement there, the sort of robed figure in the field of tentacles there, doesn't look very great and is not very great. That is actually you gaining a doom counter. So going in, defeating that dude, gets you more or less an eighth of the way to losing. This is one of our options to get an Elder Sign, but it's becoming increasingly hostile. And with Yig, each of the different gods has different set of minions, effectively. But a lot of Yig's minions grant Doom tokens, and as you get more Doom tokens, he will often spawn more monsters, so it's really easy to sort of get yourself boxed in that way. You're going to lose to Yig, that's probably why. So we would rather not go after that if we don't have to. So we have this new one that we'd like to clear before midnight. And this is Geo Diamond. So after using a clue token, he may conjure glyphs a second time for free, which, like we were saying before, is basically just a reroll. So instead of rerolling twice, rerolling once rather, he gets to reroll twice. He might actually be a decent choice to take on this particular issue. So, as a side note, the art for this is actually pretty friggin' good. It's largely shared with Fantasy Flight Games, Call of Cthulhu, living card game. It's called. It's just sort of like a CCG, like Magic, but instead of actively having to, they release a set, every 3 months or whatever, and you have to, chase down all of the cards. They release sets more or less frequently, but you just get all of them. So it's a little bit more like a Dominion or other box game, which is pretty cool. And it means that they get to, share all the art between Call of Cthulhu, Living Card Game, Arkham Horror, and Elder Sign, and presumably keep costs down, which, as a designer, business owner, so to speak, I can get behind. Alright, so we used the clue there, and re-rolled. We were trying to get up to 3 terror icons, which has not happened. You can see a little photograph is blinking now. That's because we used a clue, and he gets the ability to re-roll again. So with the clue, it's kind of like Yahtzee, in that you re-roll what you want. We could re-roll all 6, but we're trying to get terror icons. Re-rolling that one would be sort of terrible. Okay, so that didn't really work out for us. But we can toss away one of these, and Joe can hold on to one of the icons we rolled, and there we go. So the icon that we put over there stays, and the rest got re-rolled. We got the terror that we need. So, so here's our success again. Spawned another monster, which might end up causing us some problems in the long run. Got us an Elder Sign. Got Joe a clue, which is great, because obviously his ability keys off of those. And a red icon, a unique, which you can't actually sort of click on them in the screen to see what they do, but the icon indicates that it heals someone's health and sanity, sort of the pictographic, up arrow with the heart and the brain there. And then he got 2 trophies. So if he needs to heal himself later, he has that option. The unique item he got, but also he can go back to the entrance. Alright, so we still have just the one location with the hand reaching out of it, which means that we actually have 2 guys there now. It varies a little bit from mission to mission. It is actually a little more clear how this works in the paper version. It's one of the very few things that isn't crystal in this. But as you get more monsters at a location, they can start to actually override the existing requirements. So there had been a requirement earlier. It was like a skull and 4 investigation or something, or a knowledge and 4 investigation. This might actually be easier now. It's still going to be a little unpleasant. Actually, since we're sort of thinking about this, it says up at the top has the tentacle terror die icon and terror -1 sanity. So when that comes up, if you rolled a die and it came up terror, and you didn't complete anything, the terror effect triggers. So it's basically, if you go through this mission, particularly if you failed, but even if it just takes you a couple of rolls, it can ding you sanity actually multiple times throughout the mission. The -1 sanity is actually one of the less bad of these. You get spawn a monster sometimes, or add a doom token, which are super awful. I seem to recall there's even one that dings the entire team for sanity, stuff like that. Let's take a look. We have our psychologist here. She has an axe, and okay, this is going to be sweet, actually. So she has a common item, which is this yellow guy here. Gives us a yellow glyph. For the most part, the common icons give you a yellow die. The unique items with the red border give you a red die. But in each case, there's some that are special, we actually have seen more special unique items in this particular playthrough than I'm used to, which is cool. That's one of the reasons that I like randomizing everything. Each game is actually very much different. But anyway, this particular one, use after conjuring, which is to say, rolling your dice, to defeat 1 monster. So, that, I believe, bypasses all of the requirements, so I think we can use that to kill the cultist without advancing the Doom track. I'm going to give that a try, just, see what happens. Here we have one of Yig's minions shedding her skin, which is either creepy, hot, or both, depending on, your personal viewpoints there. So we have, if you look at our dice, there's a bunch of terror icons, which means that if we don't complete anything this round, if we have to re-roll and one of those terror icons is still up, we'll get dinged for sanity. Carolyn, she's a psychologist. She can apparently handle herself. She also has this spell that we wanted to use, so we can kill the cultist of Yig, or the maniac. We're going to try and kill the cultist, see if that... There we go, yeah. So the way that works, it just totally ignores the requirements entirely. So she didn't need to spend a die, didn't need to add the Doom token. Very nice. Also, we have a couple of skulls, so we can kill this guy. This is actually working out incredibly well for us. I'm very pleased with that. So you can only complete one of these objectives a turn. So we need to... but if you complete one, you don't have to throw a die away. Like, we used that one die to kill the maniac, but now we just get to re-roll. Presumably we get a 2, or this, 4 over here. We, in retrospect, apparently didn't need to use that axe, but better safe than sorry in a lot of cases. So we got another Elder Sign. We got a new unique item, which is just sort of the basic kind that I was talking about, grants a red die. And we got a special common item, which is Whiskey, which increases your sanity by 1. It is basically a healing potion for your sanity. And 2 trophies. So, we are 3/10 of the way done. And I'm going to take a drink of water here. Actually, one of the real benefits of this game is that it is entirely turn-based. Like, I could just leave this here for hours and wander off and go do other stuff. Just switch it out, go into another app. As you saw at the beginning of the game, it'll let you resume later. But it's really great for, I feel like, a lot of the use cases you have for iOS apps. If you're in public transit, sometimes you need to know sort of where you are. It's like, oh god, is this my stop? I need to look around. Which, you can pause the game or whatever, but with a game like this that's so just purely turn-based, you can just look away from it and it's not a big deal. Alright, last guy we have here is Monterey Jack. He has... there we go. Here's where all of our normal items were hiding. He has a common item that grants a yellow die, and 2 different unique items, Nameless Cults and Cultisticus, which, if you're familiar with the Cthulhu mythos, you might recognize. 2 occult tomes. So you can't use both of those red dice on the same mission, the same set of challenges. The other thing that's kind of interesting about this is it is about to strike midnight, because we've gone through our first full cycle. So, depending on your situation, if things are really touch and go, sometimes it's best to actually not complete a mission now, because if a new mission that has a bad effect that triggers at midnight comes up, it will still trigger, and you'll just basically have no chance to deal with it. Okay, so the new mission here is the Elder Sign. This is a great mission. I'm not sure if Monterey is necessarily the best person to do it. There's a couple of interesting things here with this mission. First of all, you can see the Roman numerals behind the individual tasks. You basically have to go through them in order. So even if you could completely have your scroll and 2 magnifying glasses to start off with, you can't complete that one. You have to start with number 1. And the first one costs you a sanity in addition to the die that you have to use. The second one costs you a health in addition to the die you have to use. So this is a pretty costly mission. But the rewards down in the lower right are particularly sweet. You get 2 clues, which are nice, and the Elder Sign, but there's also that sort of tentacly robed dude with the no through it, which is, it actually is the only way that I'm familiar of in the game to turn back the Doom track. So we're probably going to want to let this one sort of sit fallow for a while, because Yig hasn't added anything to the Doom track yet, and this will let us sort of push him back, and that effect would be wasted right now, because he's at 0. Have the loading dock, has a terror effect of discard all terror glyphs, so if you roll some terrors, aren't able to complete any of these little tasks, those dice basically just get tossed for the entire rest of the mission, which is fairly brutal. It also has just like Jack for rewards. Basically, if you're clearing locations like this, it's because you don't have anything better to be doing. You need to just like cycle through the deck, as it were, to get better locations that actually are worth anything. Okay, so Terrible Discovery. Pretty solid. You can get an Elder Sign off of this one. Fairly difficult mission. The double scroll on the right there can be a little challenging to get. Archives. Actually, a very challenging mission with pretty bad rewards. I mean, 2 unique items is fine, but really you're looking for Elder Signs. That's the name of the game. It's how you win the game. And that's what you want. This is another one where you have to go through an order, and when you finish, you get a monster and an Elder Sign. Pretty good. Will probably require a lot of dice. One other special reward that I should mention, this little Saturn icon. So if you look in the lower right of this one, it's got like a clue, little Saturn looking thing, then another clue. That thing is a portal to another world, which is a special type of location that comes up. I think I'm just going to call these whole things for locations and the individual things underneath them tasks until I happen to run into the actual game text that tells me what they're supposed to be called. So the other worlds open up a special location, and they almost always can grant you an Elder Sign. So it's sort of a 2-step process, but the other worlds are usually pretty sweet, and they sort of are on top of your normal allotment of locations. So, I'm a fan. So Monterey Jack, let's see if we can find somewhere, because his special power is getting an extra unique item. The archives do, but are otherwise sort of pointless. Terrible Discovery does not. Loading Dock grants a common item, and Elder Sign just grants all of the awesome things. Okay, well, we could have him try to do the archives, but I think let's try the, Actually, let's try the administration office, see what happens here. Alright, so we can add a yellow die with this axe, and we can add a red die with the nameless cults. Okay, so the way that the dice actually work, if you had a copy of the physical game in front of you, the green dice have 1, 2, 3 investigation, skull, scroll, and terror. And tentacles. So the yellow die does not have terror on it. It instead has a 4 investigation. So generally that's awesome in that the you won't trigger the terror effects of locations like we were talking about before that might, hit your sanity, might make you discard that die. But sometimes you need those to actually complete the tasks in front of you. So it can be something where you have to be a little careful. The red die has 1, 2, 3 investigation, the skull, the scroll, and then the wild that we saw earlier. So it's basically the best of all possible worlds, right? You can use the wild to get 4 investigation, or any of the special faces. So even if you do need terror for something, you can get it. If you don't, you'll never have it. So the red is sort of the trump, so to speak, value town, as it were. So I'm going to use the green die here to clear out first area. Okay, so we've got a skull, so it would be totally awesome to clear out that third task, but we have to do them in order. This is a little unfortunate, actually, because we need to get up to 6 for this one. We could throw a die out and re-roll, but I think I'm going to use our wild, grab a 4 investigation, so we have... we could, if we were terrible, actually use all 3 of our investigation dice. We just need to use these 2, which is still not great for what it's worth. We did use 2 special dice for something that we might be able to get with just green dice. So, okay, now of course we have no skulls up. You'll notice that we can't add another red die. We already used it. So we're gonna toss this guy, re-roll. Nope, toss this guy, re-roll. There we go. We did get our skull, thank goodness. Alright, so we spawned a monster, got an Elder Sign, and 2 trophies. Okay. So I will talk about that sort of green lock after we pass through midnight. So, it's midnight. Yig Mythos effect. Okay, so this is where it was like, Yig, easy. Part of that is that his minions aren't particularly awful, but a large part of that is that every night, in addition to the special effects from different locations, the god that you're fighting also gets a Mythos effect. And some of these, the most common one is that they get a Doom token, so you move 1 step closer to losing. And as their Doom track fills up, that can sort of coincidentally cause monsters to spawn as well. But there's a lot of different Mythos effects you can get. You can get specific monsters, you can get tons of monsters. It can cause damage or sanity loss to your entire team. All sorts of stuff. But Yig's deck, Yig's list of Mythos effects, I don't know if it's tracked as a deck or if it's just generated purely randomly. In the physical game, it's a deck of cards. Yig's effect has a bunch of these, just like, okay, you're fine. So this is the benefit we have for going against the Father of Serpents, who is easy mode. Okay, so we are almost halfway through sealing him, and he's really on the back foot here, which is great. I mean, I've played this game a lot. We are playing on easy mode. I'm glad that it's not making me look like a complete idiot, but we should be grateful. Okay, so this new mission that came up here is, did you hear that? And it has this little green lock icon, and if you look on the left there, sort of between Yig and our stage magician, there's a sort of cool little clock thing that does actually spin every turn. So if you're not sure how far you are from midnight, that'll tell you. It's usually pretty obvious until you start losing a bunch of people, because you have 4 characters. It's every 4 turns. All is good. But you can see right below that, one of the green orbs has a lock on it. So as long as this location is on the field, we're shorted 1 green die, which is a huge pain. Let's see what the requirements for this are. Okay, so we need 1 skull and then 2 skulls, and we're short a die. Mr. Drake. Mr. Drake has 2 effects that can kill monsters for us. This spell on the left and the unique item on the right. He also can hold on to 2 dice after a roll, which is the second spell there, and he can get us a yellow die. He may be better equipped to go into archives. Yeah, one of the monster effects would pretty well take care of that serpent folk in the upper left. Yig, by the way, is sort of the god of the serpent people. If you play Pathfinder, if you're coming over from like Tumblr or anything like that, you'll know I'm a huge Pathfinder fan. Serpent folk are in there. They're sort of a little bit of Yig stories, a little bit of old school Robert E. Howard type stuff, pulp, but a lot of quality serpent folk. But yeah, in the Cthulhu mythos, Yig is sort of their patron. Anyway, so that's not a fight that'll be a good time. Normally, we could use one of the special effects that he has to just kill it outright, because otherwise we have to use the skull to kill it, and during the fight we'll take 2 damage, which is the heart icon with -2 there. So, but the archives can more or less go jump off a cliff. The challenge we have is that it doesn't matter what location we go to, we'll be down a green die. And I am not seeing anything that I really want to do down a green die. And if we screw this up, he just loses his sanity. We have a psychologist on the team. We can figure it out. I like the Elder Sign necklace the woman in the background has there. I had not noticed that before. It's pretty slick. Okay, so you can see we are missing a green die, which is not awesome. I'm going to add a yellow die to replace it. Hopefully that'll help out. And we got Jackal on our first roll, which is not surprising. I mean, all of those dice that we are rolling only have 1 face that has a skull on it. So our chances of completing this mission are not actually very good. So we're gonna trash our second die here. Nope. Okay, so you can see the bag is blinking. It's just blinking because we have that spell that lets us basically hold 2 dice of what they are, which can be very handy. Is not here. Like, we're not... If we came up with 3 skulls at once, that would be awesome, and we'd want to use that, but yeah, we're doomed. Okay, so that we're down to 2 dice now. We literally have no way that we can complete the mission at this point. It'll let us sort of feebly struggle if we want, and do not get any skulls that whole time, which is a little unfortunate. So we failed. We took the penalty for losing, which is 1 sanity loss. Also, perhaps more importantly, on some level, you, as you keep clearing locations, it sort of snowballs, because you get more, clues and items and spells from completing the locations, which you can then turn around and use to complete, other locations. So that's a little unfortunate. So we've got Joe Diamond here, who does have 2 rerolls. 2 rerolls on 5 dice. We're looking at probably 15 dice to start out. There's a decent chance that we'll be able to clear the the 2 skull objective there, the 2 skull task, I think I decided I was going to call them. And then he'll have 3 dice left, which gives us more or less even odds to get another skull. There is actually a character who is immune to locked glyphs. We don't have her in the party, but she's pretty sweet for that reason. So, Alright. Okay, so we didn't need to re-roll yet. We just got 2 skulls naturally because he's awesome. And just more skulls. Okay. Sometimes the dice love you. What can I say? Okay, so we didn't get an Elder Sign out of that one, but we did clear that locked die, which is really important. It did spawn a monster on us, gave Joe Diamond a clue, which is great. It also gave him Spell, which kill a monster for us at some point later if we need to. There aren't actually that many monster-killing spells and items in the deck. We're just getting tons of them. Alright, so we got a second monster. We have 2 sort of monster-infested locations now. Okay, so you can see on the main screen now, this little photograph by Carolyn is blinking. That is because she can use her ability to heal the sanity damage that we took earlier. Just a friendly little reminder that she can use that ability once a turn. So, frankly, with talking and everything, I would have totally forgotten. So, it's great that that did come up. So she has a red die she can get. We have the archives, which we decided were not worth the bother. The gate to elsewhere is now sort of double-sided. It replaced one of the existing tasks and is really easy. Like, the chances that you won't get any investigation in the magnifying glass icons is basically 0. So that's going to be way easier than what it had originally. But defeating him will give us a Doom token. Failing will give us a Doom token. So if we screw this up actually badly enough, we'd end up with 2 out of his 8 Doom tokens right away. So he would go from being like super far behind to actually kind of competitive. But if we win, gives us portal to another world. So let's see if we got any better options. This one might be pretty solid. She'd lose some sanity. She has plenty if she fails. Does have a red die. Chances look pretty good for that one. Loading deck, dock rather, still awful. Elder Sign, we use, still sort of holding on to in our back pocket. And Fragments of Knowledge. So the minimum number of dice you could use to complete this one is 5. And she would end up with 7 dice to start with, but that gives us a very narrow window for error. I would rather have someone with an extra yellow and an extra red die go after that. So yeah, let's try this terrible discovery. Give her the Ruby of Rely. Nobody ever knows actually how to pronounce that word, but that's fine. Okay, so we have sort of an interesting option here. We do have the terror icon we need to finish the left-hand task. And we can either use 2 green dice or the red die to complete it. I think our odds are slightly better if we use to complete the other one if we use the red die, but it's pretty close because the red die has the wild face. But the more just raw dice we have, the better chance we have of getting 2 slightly. I mean, it's a minor thing. Okay, so we have to throw a die away because we weren't able to complete the task. This is where we get to, Carolyn, hold on to this scroll for us, and hopefully we'll roll another one. There we go. Alright, so we get an Elder Sign, 2 clues. Not great that they're going to Carolyn, but I mean, rerolls are great for anyone, so. So we are officially halfway done sealing him now, which is great. And we have a new location, Mysterious Tome. Monterey has red item here. Okay, Mysterious Tome also spawns another world location, and failure also grants a Doom icon. Man. I'm gonna save that gate to elsewhere for one of the people that has one of our monster killing items. There's no reason to send Monterey after that. Let's take a look at the entrance. He can spin on the Lost and Found, or buy... I'm actually going to buy him a common item. 100% sure that item was... Oh, it is Midnight. Okay, so we got +1 Doom here. So we are still way ahead of him, but he is sort of, he has score on the board. So, as a reminder, we need 10 Elder Signs, and as you can see, that's half full here, and he has 1 on his Doom track. So the way that the Doom track actually works, the next time he gets a Doom token, it'll cover up that monster icon, so he spawns a monster then. Which in and of itself will very likely be able to add a Doom token when we go up against it, so that's sort of a pain. Okay, so I think we're gonna be good to go here. We might not be able to complete the second task. That's just sort of the nature of the beast. We can use Girl to do that. Don't have any rolls to save, so we just want to re-roll these. Okay, so this is not looking great. Oh. Yeah, we were down to about 50-50, which is not where I like to be. So the first icon there is that other world portal I was talking about. And when we get back to the map screen, we'll see that, so it spawned that new location with the terror tentacles around it, but it also spawned this sort of sweet green glowy looking location, which is Yugoth, which is sort of Pluto in the Lovecraftian mythos is referred to by its inhabitants as Yugoth. So it's a difficult mission, but if we complete it, we get 2 items, which is nice, and 2 Elder Signs, which is friggin' great. And that's sort of the type of thing that you get for getting those other world locations. It's a nice little strategic thing. Okay, so he has a anti-monster effect and some healing stuff, and all of the rerolls in the goddamn world. So we could send him into the archives. Still not really something I'm super thrilled with. I don't feel like he has enough dice to realistically complete this, even with all of his rerolls. Bare minimum, this would require 5 dice, because you can only roll, well, in his case, since he only has green dice, he can only roll up to a 3 investigation, so he'll need at least 3 for that right-hand task, and then a skull and tentacles to complete the other one. On the other hand, the other world locations don't automatically respawn another one, which plays into what I was talking about with not necessarily wanting to spawn new locations in the museum right away. I like the background there. Admittedly, it reminds me more of Langdon Yugoth, but I am a total dork. Okay, so we have an interesting choice here. We can clear the right-hand task with 4 dice, but that leaves us with basically nothing. to complete the other one. What I think I'm going to do is actually reroll everything except for the 3. See where that gets us. Doing a little bit better. Okay, so we do have another free reroll here. So I'm rerolling that one, because we don't actually need it. That's doing nothing for us. And the other, terror. So if we can get a skull, I would like to complete the left-hand mission. Did not. We still can complete this right one. Have 3 dice left. I think that's worth it. And just totally came up awesome for us. So, I am apparently great at this game on, easy mode when I get super lucky. So we get 2 Elder Signs, a common item grants us a yellow die as normal, a rare item which grants us a red die and actually spawns a clue, which is going to be great for him because of the synergy with his ability, and 2 trophies. That special item is, of course, the Necronomicon, which you may know from either the Cthulhu Mythos or, Evil Dead. Take your pick. Or, I guess, if you're going real deep, like Binding of Isaac or something like that. So, we've got Carolyn. Nobody's lost any sanity, which is amazing. Actually, let me check something real quick here. She has 6 trophies, 4 trophies, 0 trophies from Monterey Jack. Okay, well, so nobody has enough to buy an Elder Sign, is what I was checking. Because we're getting really sort of into the home stretch. If people can complete just a couple more tasks, so we can spawn another world. She's pretty solid. She has 2 clues. So chances are decent she can complete both of them. Now, Elder Sign is sort of on the table again. It does need 4 dice. She has 6. I'd really rather someone with a red die go after that. Fragments of Knowledge. Yeah, I guess she can handle herself. We'll send her after the yellow sign. Okay, well, she got a scroll, so she takes a sanity damage. So we had some scrolls there, and had to re-roll them because we can only complete 1 task per roll. That's really where those spells come in handy, like the one that we've been hanging on to with the Drake the whole game, where you can sort of set dice aside. We could have just set the scroll aside, called it good. Okay, so we have 2 options here. One of them is some whiskey to help her regain her sanity. Keep in mind that this is sort of the 20s, so a little bit of possibly inappropriate relationship with I'll call this sort of par for the course. Did I say the 70s or the 20s? I meant to say the 20s. 70s had inappropriate relationships with entirely different things. Okay, so she's taking a damage. We don't have a great way to heal damage, so I'm really hopeful we come up with let's use her other clue. It's best to use your clues as sort of as early as possible, so you get to re-roll literally as many dice as possible. Okay, so that was bad times. We can save a die. I'm not sure how exactly the math works out here. This is just sort of a math problem of whether we should save one. I think that with 3 dice left, there's a decent chance that we get a scroll. If we save one of the investigation dice, I think we're more more likely to screw ourselves out of the scroll than we are to get the scroll in investigation. So I'm just gonna roll, and it's not doing great, but stick with the plan. And 2 scrolls. Oh, wow. Okay, well, hoisted on my own tard there. It's okay. I will. You can actually just fail the adventures at any time, but I usually drown in sorrow. Okay, well, she's taken. She lost a whiskey and took damage and a sanity loss. No big deal. She can actually heal herself at the beginning of the next turn. So, got Monterey here. Loading dock. Key to Beyond. He does have that red glyph. Not super stoked about sending him into a place where he might lose a lot of sanity, like this Terror and Key to Beyond. Or even the Elder Sign. I think he might be best Elder Sign guy. That's probably not true. Well, let's give him his red die. We are committed. That's great. And unfortunately, we can't just keep the wild. Seems perfectly content. I'm gonna drink that right away. So it's always going to be better to use the other dice because the red one has a chance of coming wild. It's a really good roll. Scrolls. So this I think is a case where it's probably worth saving this investigation. You'll see we can actually save 2 dice because we have 2 people at the location, which is kind of neat. I feel like it doesn't actually come up all that often. Okay, we would have been fine either way, but okay, so we cleared out a Doom track. We are up to 8 Elder Signs. He got 2 clues and 2 trophies, so that is awesome. So even if we spawn something awful with a midnight effect, which we didn't, would have been worth it. So Yig gets his Doom on. Oh, that's phenomenal. That I was thinking he was going to spawn a monster because his second Doom track spawns monster, but we just knocked him back a step, so we don't have to deal with that, which is pretty awesome. We have 2 more Elder Signs to get. Mr. Drake. We have a lot of rerolls, some saving, kill monster. So I keep looking at the archives because clearing out monsters is nice, and it does give you bonus trophies. Like even if you don't totally clear the location, if you kill a monster in it, you do get some trophies just from the monster itself, which is fairly slick. Blood on the floor. She's gonna give that one a shot. This those, man, that gargoyle. Okay, so save that, and I'm going to use his double spell lock glyph to keep the result. Okay, so normally, if you fail, you can reserve some of your dice for later. If you succeed, you normally have to reroll all of them. So we used that spell he's been carrying since the beginning of the game to lock those 2 dice. Luckily, so we had that 3, and the last task is Terror and a Skull. We have a Terror for sure, and don't have a Skull quite yet, but can re-roll these and not get a Skull, and we can re-roll them again with another clue and still not get a Skull and get a Terror, but did end up working out for us. Okay, phenomenal. So he got a common item out of it, a clue, and our second to last Elder Sign. I don't believe that there are any Mythos effects that'll actually knock you back an Elder Sign. So, wow, he is just flush with items here. He's got the Necronomicon, he's got a diary, some health and sanity ups, a clue, all sorts of awesome stuff. And he can double roll on the clue. There was a location that we've been avoiding because it's too hard. I think I'm going to send him there. Fragments of Knowledge is probably what I'm thinking of. Okay, let's go for broke here. This is literally so that granted us the red die and also a clue, so we're up to 2 clues now, which is great. Okay, so going for broke. It's our last location. Should take care of everything we need. Wow. Okay, well, I'm inclined to just throw this back. We can technically complete that first task, but it would cost us 3 dice, which isn't the end of the world, but like we've got great dice and it would cost, we can do better. Okay, like this, for example. Okay, so we can't use the other reroll that we gained because we did complete that task, which is sort of a bummer, but I feel totally confident that we can get 6 investigation on these dice. Yeah. It occurs to me that the red die, I may have misdescribed it. It might be replacing the 1 investigation with the wild and the terror with a 4, but doesn't matter. It's really good, is the moral of the story. I just noticed it came with a natural 4. I'm momentarily confused. Okay, so we got our last Elder Sign. The spell there opens another world portal for you, which would be awesome if you were not already going into the cutscene. Okay, that, if you're curious, is my actual name. I will be switching this over to Kinnack for the stream here. Great, and you get, at the bottom, it shows you your investigators. If any of them had gone insane or died, it would tell you that. Score breakdown, how many turns we took, how many items we gathered. Oh, hey, there we go. Tasks. I was right. The locations are actually adventures. I will try to keep that consistent. I apologize in advance for screwing it up. Monsters killed. Other worlds opened. Elder Signs earned. Empty doom slots. So he had 8 total before we were screwed. He had 1 so far, so we get the difference there. Agent when sealed away, which is basically the U1 bonus. Incapacitated adventurers, so if they died or gone insane, 0. So total score, 3505. Typically, the longer the games go, the better your points are, but also you can still get a decent score and lose, particularly on the harder bosses. But obviously, you'll not have a lot of empty doom slots or a lot of what's the incapacitated adventurers penalty will start to rack up, stuff like that. So generally, winning gets you a better score, but not 100%. All right, and thank you very much for watching Elder Sign Omens. I will probably be back with facing off against another god at some point. I'd like to also do some Let's Plays of other iOS games. So if you have anything in particular you'd like to see, feel free to comment. If you enjoyed the video, definitely, throw us a like. And if there's anything else you're looking for, definitely let us know. We're just getting started here, so anything you'd like us to take a look into, especially on the iOS side of things, but I do have a computer and Steam and all of these happy things, so yeah, just throw us a message if there's something in particular you'd like to see. Otherwise, I will just see you next time with a new god and probably a lot of me getting punched in the face. Thanks, and have a great day.